The casting couch is part of the game here in Hollywood.
Not anymore. For women, that's over.
Men always get paid more than women in film.
Emma Stone got paid $26 million last year. Equality is coming.
75% of film is focused on men.
Watch the last Star Wars, mate. The main character is a female Jedi.
There's a 21% pay difference between men and women.
Women of the world want to see themselves on film.
It was all talk before, but there's actual accountability now.
I think it is starting to think about changing.
Weinstein's a monster. He's a horrible man.
Something has cracked wide open.
We've heard about the recent scandals going on in Hollywood. Is there a revolution going on? I'm here to find out.
Please, I'm not going to do anything. I swear, my children. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
Yesterday you touched my breast.
In October 2017, the silence about Hollywood's power imbalance shattered, with revelations in the New York Times and the New Yorker. The producer Harvey Weinstein was accused of sexual harassment and assault against multiple women. And since, many more have come forward. The dam of sexual misconduct broke open. Millions of women on social media declared "Me Too." To date, there are allegations against more than 70 men working in Hollywood.
Women have been complaining about being mistreated by men for decades in show business. So why has it suddenly become a movement? I'm on my way to visit one actress who lost her career because she turned down the sexual advances of one very famous director. And instead, she opened a big cat refuge outside Los Angeles. So, Tippi, we've come to California because from the outside world, it looks like a women's revolution is taking place in the film industry here. You've been talking about sexual harassment since the 60s.
I was talking about it then because at that time, I had to deal with it. All of this has been very important to me, that it is coming out and people are saying, back off.
Alfred Hitchcock made you a star in the films The Birds
Yes,
and Marnie.
Yes.
He gave you this brooch.
Yes, he did. I wore it specifically for that purpose so that we could talk about.
When you got your role as Melanie, it must have started off like a dream.
It truly was. It was an exciting time. I had never thought about being an actress. I was a very successful model in New York. Somehow, I was chosen to do The Birds.
It soon changed from being a dream, though. What happened?
He all of a sudden decided that I was to become a very important part of his life in another role, which I wasn't interested in doing. And I made it very clear.
Tippi tells in her 2016 memoir how Hitchcock became obsessed with her, had her followed, drove by her home late at night, tried to kiss her, touch her. She says during filming he installed a secret door connecting his office to her dressing room and had a mask of her face made.
I can remember the day so clearly. And when I said, no. Got it?
And how did he react?
And he said, I'll ruin your career. I said, do what you have to do. And I sailed out the back door and never came back.
When you were making The Birds, there was quite a lot of psychological pressure on you because some of those scenes were done with real birds and you were actually really hurt, weren't you?
It was when I was lying on the floor and the birds had attacked me as I came in the door, and they attached the birds to me. And one of them was up by my shoulder, and it jumped and got way too close. I believe I just sat in the middle of the set, and I was so exhausted, I just started to cry. And everybody left.
When all this was going on with Alfred Hitchcock, you actually went to his wife and you asked for help.
I did one day. In fact, I remember we were standing at the elevator, and she looked at me and she said, "Tippi, I'm so sorry you have to go through this." And I just looked at her and I said, "Well, can't you do something about it?" And she just looked at me and her eyes glazed over and she walked into the elevator.
So what did you think when all of these scandals came out last year about Harvey Weinstein? And
this has been going on. Harvey Weinstein has been doing this for a lot of years. And all of a sudden, women are saying, "Wait a minute, I don't have to put up with this," which is excellent.
Remember the TV series Beverly Hills 90210? Well, the actress who played Andrea is now the president of a union that represents the rights of men and women who work in TV and film. It's called SAG-AFTRA. Why do you think Me Too and Time's Up became such phenomenons everywhere?
Because it resonated. Me Too came out, I want to say it was in '04, and it was women of color who were in influential positions who came out as Me Too saying we are being sexually harassed, and nobody listened.
It took, like, Hollywood stars.
It took white women who are celebrities to come forward, and that's okay. I mean, I don't care how it happens. I just don't want people to think that's the only place it happens.
So concretely, though, what practically has to happen for changes to come about?
One is working on legislation. With the law right now, there are too many loopholes. So here in California, it's against the law for your employer to sexually harass you. But actors, they're not only getting sexually harassed on the job. It happens, again, like Harvey Weinstein, a producer, even before you get the job. You meet a producer, a writer, or director, and they say, "Come to my room. I'm going to interview you." Now, they're not hiring you, but they give you the opportunity for work. They have to be held accountable. And it's important for us to give resources to people. We put together our code of conduct to say what your rights are and what sexual harassment is and how to protect yourself on set. We're giving them the resources, not just on the phone to do it, but we're looking at technology. So if somebody else shares that same kind of situation or has a story that's similar with that person, that there's a connection that goes on.
How in your career have you experienced the power imbalance in Hollywood?
I have experienced many different power imbalances, from not just sexual harassment, but pay inequity. And what I realized is that we are more powerful in the collective than we are as individuals.
Hearing the stories and hearing the statistics of the inequality between men and women makes me feel so angry. And it seems that things are improving, but the main way things are going to improve is when the law changes.
In January, 300 high-profile women in the movie business called Time's Up. It's a movement whose focus is getting legislation passed and policies changed to help create equality between the sexes. The group called for Golden Globe attendees to wear black. Its famous members speak out on highly publicised red carpet premieres all over the world.
Nothing says girl power quite like this film directed by a woman. We've got Oprah Winfrey, we've got the amazing Reese Witherspoon, and a little girl who saves the planet.
Where are we?
We heard a cry out in the universe.
My father's alive.
We believe he is, and we're here to help you find him. We are in search of warriors.
Warriors who serve the good and the light in the universe.
Oprah. Can't wait to see her.
Why is Oprah such an icon?
Anything from the way I talk to the way I think to the people I surround myself with is influenced by what Oprah taught me.
Well, I think they're women who really take a stand for what they believe in, and also they're inspirations to so many people.
Récemment aux Golden Globes, le discours qu'elle a fait, c'était extraordinaire.
Is this film the ultimate example of women fighting back today?
It is an example. There are the example of women fighting back today. You know, I think, you know, I love my life. I love what we're able to do with film. I love storytelling. But the real fighters are the people who are in there every day. You know, as I said in my Golden Globe speech, it's the waitresses, it's the domestic workers, it's the moms who go to work every single freaking day.
How do we make sure there's lasting change?
Oh, it will. It will.
Why is it important for young girls to see people who look like them in big Hollywood blockbusters?
To be able to see everybody succeed that looks like them, I mean, it's really empowering. So I'm glad that I got to do so, to represent young girls and represent young girls of color, and just to let everybody know that they can save the world.
You created a production company to tell stories about women. What made you take action?
I actually read a really bad script, and I thought, wow, this is just terrible. And then I heard, you know, some of my colleagues who I had a deep admiration for were considering doing it. And I thought, if this isn't good enough for them, I need to start creating parts that are.
You're only the fourth woman to solo direct a movie with a budget of over $100 million, and the first woman of color to do so. Did you have to fight for it?
No, they gave it to me, and it was beautiful. Disney invited me to come in and make this picture. They knew it was a tough book to make. They wanted to put a Disney spin on this classic tale by Madeleine L'Engle, a beautiful author. And so we went into it with the spirit of creating a new spin on a timeless story, and I'm really proud of what we made.
Does that mean Hollywood is changing when it comes to female directors, do you think?
I think it is starting to think about changing.
Here in London, I heard fighting talk from some Hollywood greats, and soon to be great. But it still didn't answer my question. Why are there far fewer women directing films? Excuse me? Can you name 3 female directors? Can you name 1 female director?
No.
Let me think. Shonda Rhimes. There are not so many, and it's unfortunate.
No.
Shonda Rhimes.
Okay.
Jodie Foster.
She's a good actress, and she's also a director. What's her name? Salma Hayek.
Well, that didn't go very well. In the 90 years since the Oscars began, only 1 woman has ever won the top prize for Best Film. That's Catherine Bigelow, and only 12 have ever been nominated. I think it's time for a man's point of view, don't you? Jim, earlier I was on the Walk of Fame. I asked people if they could name 3 female directors. How do you think that went?
They couldn't name 1.
Some of them could name 1, but not 3. The mood feels different in Hollywood now, especially after the scandal of last October with Harvey Weinstein. Are things changing?
I believe that those people who acted inappropriately are on their heels and are scared. And then if a film could be directed or written, or you have a protagonist who's a female, I think that there's a higher likelihood of getting that picture financed and greenlit.
Because of awareness now.
Awareness, but in the end, the whole thing boils down to, and this is sad because we all think we're in the arts, the whole thing boils down to money. If there's a group of pictures that are made with, you know, a heavy concentration of females or African Americans or any other sort of group that aren't white men, and they don't work, they're going to go right back to what does work.
Can you see a time when, out of the top 10 in the box office at the weekend, 5 are directed by women and 5 are directed by men?
Yes, if they direct superhero movies, which is sad. You know, we're talking about Patty Jenkins. Why is Patty Jenkins an important director now? Because she directed a superhero movie. Yeah, and she did it well.
Dr. Caroline Heldman is an associate professor of politics at this LA university. As well as working with victims of sexual harassment, she's written books on gender inequality.
At the same time, women are saying no more sexual harassment. They're also saying no more rubbish roles. We want real roles for women, particularly women like Reese Witherspoon. And she started her own production company. What do you think about the way women are represented on screen?
I think the way that women are represented on screen is inherently linked to the fact that hiring practices in Hollywood look like the 1950s, right? So you have very few women behind the camera in key decision-making roles. Only 7% of directors of the top films are female. You have very few editors, writers. So the people making the decisions behind the scenes are overwhelmingly men, and they're overwhelmingly white men. And so that translates into women being virtually erased in leading roles. And then when women do appear, they're often presented in very stereotypical ways, as sex objects, as scantily clad, as ditzes. So people like Reese Witherspoon are not only creating their own roles, but they're also creating much better, well-rounded, realistic roles.
I thought it was nice for the nannies to get to know each other.
Renata, Jane is not a nanny. She's a mom, just young. Like you used to be?
Like we used to be?
Bitch. Everyone has praised Wonder Woman. You know, this new film, it's going to be a Wonder Woman 2. What a good symbol she is for little girls. Also a film directed by a woman. What do you think about this character?
I loved the strength of the character. I loved that she was rounded. I loved that she was truly a superhero first and a woman second. But at the end of the day, even with a female director, there were certain scenes where, you know, they would pan up her legs into her butt crack. And I was asking myself, why do we need to see this? Why is it that we can't see a woman on the big screen who isn't also a sex object?
Name a film that is a good example of what we should be watching.
I think that The Hunger Games did a remarkably good job in having a female protagonist who wasn't reduced to a sex object. The fact that they were all wearing the same outfits was this moment where the double standard was not at play. I think it's really hard for us to even conceive of that, because Hollywood doesn't take place in a vacuum. It's both sending messages and reinforcing messages of a broader society, which has widespread normalization and acceptance of women as sex objects. But Hollywood can be better. Hollywood tomorrow could dramatically shift the ways in which we see the world regarding gender and race stereotypes.
Is that going to happen?
No. Hollywood is not going to change overnight, and it's not going to change without a great deal of pressure. We tend to think that people in Hollywood are making all the right decisions and it's driven by money, but it isn't. Films that are led by female protagonists and films that are led by both male and female co-leads actually make more money than films that have male protagonists. So we've had this data now for 3 years. Has there been a significant shift in the hiring of female protagonists? No.
So Carissa, where are you taking me?
I'm taking you to my writing class. I have a short film called Lunch Ladies, and we're working the feature now. It's about 2 murdering lunch ladies in love with Johnny Depp.
The roles women play on screen depends on the scripts that are written for them. Several nights a week, Jo tutors writers. Much of the work done here makes its way to the big and little screen.
Your cheesy burger bites recipe is the grand prize winner! What? Rock on, Johnny Depp!
I'd rather eat a tampon. That is the ugliest shirt I've ever seen.
The short Lunch Ladies is now finished and doing really well. Everybody knows that. And so now what we're doing is a proof of concept so that someone will see it And as for the feature that we're now going to do,
interior bedroom, 2 bodies in twin beds stir, and a Johnny Depp Mad Hatter alarm clock clicks to 6.
You, time to go down the rabbit hole.
Soretta Burr, 52, full-figured, stuffed into hot pink lingerie, stretches while her fraternal twin sister, Luann, 6'1", stained white beater, lets out a Frankenstein groan.
Listening to that script, could a man have written it?
sure, but it wouldn't be this. It would be something completely different. A woman's voice, a female voice, is absolutely different, invigorating, and wonderfully funny.
Let me tell you, just the description of Soretta Burr. As it's written, it's full-figured, stuffed into hot pink lingerie, stretches while her fraternal twin sister, etc. A man would be meaner, just because he can be. And if I may say so, pardon me, but a white male will be meaner because he comes from a position of privilege. And he has no idea what it feels like to be hurt as a woman or hurt as someone that he's not. So it might be Soretta Burr, 52, fat, ha ha ha. I wouldn't think that's funny.
Clarissa, when you showed the script to directors and producers, what did they say? What was the reaction?
And they would be like, is there an audience for this?
And the two older women.
And it's got two middle-aged leads.
Was it men saying that?
The first director said that to me, yes.
So, Jo, why are the majority of films that we're watching written by men?
Lisa Marie, you want to jump in there?
They rule Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they hire people who are like them, which are, white males.
But there is a sea change coming. You can feel, we're having this conversation. Just the fact that we've never had this conversation, to this kind of intelligence and depth and no fear. Not only Me Too, but no fear. What are you going to do?
From the classroom to on location. This is a set run by students from the American Film Institute.
I thought that was a decent take.
It was really good. I prefer most of the
Hi, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Eve. This is an incredible setting for a
isn't
film.
It's gorgeous. We're in Bel Air, Hollywood. It's real. My chances of being employed, and not just as a woman, but also as a woman of color, my chances of being employed is like 2%, whereas my fellow classmate, who is a white male, has a 27% chance of getting a job.
Is Hollywood a good place to be, do you think, for a young female director like you?
I don't know, honestly. I hope that the climate is changing and that I can find my place here, but I honestly don't know.
It's ethical. What's our ETA on the actors?
This film is being led by women. What's that like?
Now that you have me thinking about it, I realize it's such an empowering thing, and we don't limit ourselves. We go for it. If someone says you can't do it, it gives us more energy to want to do it and pursue that too. We've talked for years about this, about women in film, but I feel like I'm part of a group of women who are we're the ones taking action now.
This film set represents many parts of the Hollywood film industry. Directors, producers, and the once all vulnerable, ambitious actresses.
I think that it's a great opportunity right now, especially for women, because I've seen that little by little, there are more women that are empowered in this industry, and we're getting out there, and we're being heard, and we're actually getting the jobs. So I think it's a great time to always try and be whatever you want to be in the future.
A revolution began in Hollywood because famous women spoke out about the power imbalance between the sexes. The Harvey Weinstein affair created a universal female roar that's still being heard. Now Hollywood has to open its eyes to a new era and stand as an example for the rest of the world.
Although many of 2018's big budget bets are centered around men, some films are hoping to turn the tide. Female-led releases include Ocean's 8 and Mamma Mia. Creators of the highly acclaimed series Big Little Lies and The Handmaid's Tale are bringing us second seasons, two key creations of our times, with female characters fighting back against abusive treatment by men.